Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. I am Phil, and if you're listening a few episodes back, I'm sure you remember my guest, Mr. Travis Richey himself, actor, actor, writer, self-described giant nerd, and
Well,
hello,
greetings, Philip.
hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you? I know the last time we talked to you, started talking about Spider-Man 2099, so we said, "Oh, let's cover some of that." So yes, this time
Yeah, it's the
cover that.
comic that got me into comics, and I've got
Oh,
my run right here. I
nice.
don't know what's the best way to do it in this. That first episode is foil embossed, so it's very shiny.
Oh yeah, I think all the number ones in the
First issue.
2029, at least those first couple, yeah, they did that with the
Yeah,
foil.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, I've got a few of the first ones here. The rest of my main comic collection is back in Wisconsin, and I only happened to get these from a friend of mine just before the pandemic, and he was looking to offload some of his stuff, and I was like, I will take an entire collection of 2099 comics. Yes, sir.
Nice. So you said this was your first comic then?
Yeah, so I'm not sure which one was actually first, but I do remember right about the same time when Superman died in Superman, issue number 500 was actually the Return of Superman. It was the Rise of the Supermen
Mm-hmm.
thing. And so I picked up that one. And then around about the same time, I was driving south to visit my dad on weekend visitation. My parents were divorced, and we stopped at a gas station in halfway between Wausau, Wisconsin, and Madison. I can't remember, Westfield, I think, maybe. Anyway, there was this big gas station, and on the news rack was an issue of Spider-Man 2099, issue number 8. And
Oh,
I remember my little brain just fizzed because I was a fan of the Spider-Man comic when I was a kid, since I was as early as I could remember. And then I was also already a big sci-fi nerd, so I loved Star Wars and Star Trek and anything futuristic. Right, I was reading Arthur C. Clarke at a very young age, and so this goes like both of these things that I love in one thing, and I picked it up and I read the whole series. I remember going searching out the first few issues that I had missed, and then I was kind of collecting a bunch of the 2099 series. Although I guess X-Men 2099 was pretty good. I
mm,
remember being perplexed at Ghost Rider because they changed artists every issue, which was it was just confusing. I wasn't quite like it's hard to maintain any sort of like, I don't know, emotional connection when the look of the character
yeah.
changes so much. So yeah, but Spider-Man, man, I loved him, and I was so happy to see him in the new movie. So
Oh yeah. I love that. Yeah, because now there's there's merch out there for him now and stuff. And once you get a character in the movie, that's when you start getting all the merch. If you want a T-shirt or something. I mean,
yeah,
there's
yeah, it's
several different like Spider-Man 2099 like Funko pops. There's at least I have at least three of them. I know
oh
there's like
really?
one from the movie. There's one from he was in one of the video games, and then I think there might just be one straight from the comic. But yeah, there's a few. So.
Got it. Well, I will say that merch has never been my
Mm,
appealing to me. I'm not a big consumerism type of person, but
mm.
when it comes to creativity, the stories, that's where I live. And
Well,
yeah.
I don't know how much of the background you know. I actually got to talk to Peter David. It was like 2017, I think, and I asked him a little about it, and he said, when this was the first book in the 2099 line, and they threw it out to all the writers. They're just like, okay, who has an idea for a Spider-Man 2099? And he said everyone else is pitching. This is like Peter Parker's grandson or something, or this or that. So he's like, I just took the idea of Spider-Man. I went opposite with everything. He's not related to Peter Parker. Instead of sticking to a wall, he has those talons in his fingers and
Hmm.
toes. Instead of web shooters, he has organic web shooters. He's like
Yeah.
Peter Parker when he started had no luck with women. He's like, meanwhile, Miguel was engaged when we first see him. So he's like, I just did the opposite of everything Spider-Man started out as.
Yeah. There's a joke early on too where he has this holographic
Yes.
assistant, and they have a joke where the assistant's like, I have several different personalities and that I can cycle through, and he's like, all right, what do you got? And it cycles through basically Alfred and then Aunt May,
Yes.
and he's like, ugh, kill that one, and which I am all for because I don't know, I Aunt May has been done well a couple times. Like I've been rewatching the Spider-Man movies, and I think Sally Field's Aunt May is
Mm,
brilliant,
yes.
absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
And by contrast, the Sam Raimi Aunt May, who was very much like the comics, was painful. I don't that actress, she's probably dead already, but the she was awful to watch. And so I hope like people who know her who aren't watching this, but she was terrible.
I think they with her, especially with that character. They're like, oh yeah, they wanted to go full comic book with that Aunt May and stuff. And again, there's just so much with Aunt May. I don't know, because I know in 2007 they got rid of Spider-Man's marriage to save that aunt, and I'm just like, how believable is it that she's still alive? You know, she was like very elderly, it seems, in his first appearance, and meanwhile,
Yeah.
real time and 60 years later, she's still alive. It's like,
Yeah, yeah, and I think they maybe went a little too far with the Tom Holland Aunt May,
oh,
with
I
the
know she keeps getting
the
younger and
hot young
younger
Aunt May.
too.
I was like,
Yeah,
nah, that I don't need. But I mean, although I loved Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, just on the face of it, I just whatever. Sally Fields was mwah, perfect for me.
yeah.
Anyway, so that was a fun thing, and this one, I also think this was the first time like I read the joke, what would your father say if he were still alive? Help, help, let me out of this coffin. You know,
Peter David's good at those one-liners.
this
Yeah.
might be the first time I'd ever read that joke, and so that was fun to revisit these. So yeah, man, I'm happy to talk
So,
about them.
so you picked up issue 8 as your first one, and then after that, were you just like, I need every issue of this? Were you like rabid with it,
Yeah,
read the whole of it?
yeah, probably. And before too long, comics kind of consumed me. By the time, I mean, this was, I don't know, how old was I then? Probably 12, 13, maybe. And I don't have a date on this, but I feel like that's about the right age. And then by the time I graduated high school, I already had like a couple thousand comics, and then I went to college and basically spent my entire excess student loans on comic books, which was maybe not a bright idea, but whatever.
Yeah, I started, and I continue to this day, and I just know, like, when I was a kid, I got into comics, and my mom was a big reader, and she was just like, as long as he's reading something, just
Yeah, it is interesting the kind of prejudice against comic books, right? And
yeah,
graphic novels. And yeah, I was a big reader my whole life. I was reading, books and like I said, Arthur C. Clarke and Tolkien and all those things. Like I read The Hobbit when I was 7, Michael N.D. with The Never-Ending Story was a young favorite. And then I got into Stephen King right about that, 12-year-old mark. And but comic books are just so different of an art form, and to tell a story visually and in text is I can see how that's such a challenge. It was interesting reading these now because I also know that Peter David, I originally became aware of him from his novels. Actually, I think Imzadi and his Star Trek novels were the first things I ever read of his. And so I was excited to learn that he was the writer on this series too. And so but it's intriguing to see the kind of simplicity of some of the dialogue and the things that a character is saying to themselves. It's like, why are you saying that out loud, instead of a thought bubble or something like that. So I'm really intrigued to see the evolution of the writing style and to see if because I've been out of comics for years. I have not. A few years ago, I want to say 15 years ago now, I was on set on this football movie, Gridiron Gang, with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I was just doing background work. But one of the other guys on set, we got to talk about comic books, and he lent me a bunch of Batman comics to catch me up on all the stuff that was going on then with Hush and No Man's
oh,
Land,
nice.
and in those days. And I was like, oh wow, Batman's better than ever. And but otherwise, I've really not read a lot of comics in the last decade or two, and so the eh, I don't know if these just feel very 90s or if this is just the way comics are and I've kind of forgotten, or what. I'm interested to revisit, you know.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see what you think because probably in February, if you want, yeah, we'll go over the new series. It's again, it's different writer, Steve Orlando, so it'll be a different writer. But yeah, just styles are a little different. I mean, it does. Things do change, but I'm interested to see as someone who's been out of it for a little bit to see what you think's the same and what you think is different, from the '90s
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, me too. Well, there's one other series I read in the meantime, which was 100 Bullets by
Oh, okay.
Azzarello, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so I loved that series, although I don't think I finished it.
Hmm.
So I don't know how it ended, but I was really getting into the mythology of it, and I can't believe that hasn't been made into a series or a movie yet.
So you said about Superman. You said about so you were all over the place. You weren't just like one. Oh, I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a DC fan. So you were all over.
No, yeah, it was pretty much anything that interested me, that
Yeah.
was good. I mean, good is a relative term too. Like I never read Sandman,
Mm.
but I was very much into any of the like Dark Horse Star Wars, or especially when they would do crossovers like Alien and RoboCop, or no, Predator versus RoboCop, right?
Mm.
Aliens versus Batman.
Yes.
Those I was like, oh my god, these are amazing. And so those are things I loved. What If and Elseworlds,
Oh
anything that
yes.
like took an established something and tweaked it. And I think that probably informed my later years when I was like, here I am as Inspector Spacetime, and it's taking an established thing and tweaking it and playing with these tropes and like, what if something was different? And what if Doctor Who had no hearts? Um, I don't know.
So you're saying comics had a big influence on your career and your life there.
Probably. I mean, definitely reading in general, like comic books. Douglas Adams, right about the same time as I discovered him, and then Saturday Night Live, right about the same time. So
Mm.
all of that kind of confluence of influences and things that I was absorbing have really probably taken their toll on my psyche in a good way.
I mean, you're a writer. Have you ever thought about pitching something to Marvel or DC or anything?
Yeah, I have no idea how to go about doing it, which is funny because I've known a lot of writers from like I think I mentioned last time I was friends with Len Wein, but I never talked to him about how
Hmm.
I would go about doing that. It always seemed to me, especially in the last 10 years, that I was far too old to do it, to get into it. Like it seemed like a young man's game. And even though everybody that I'm friends with who is and was a comic book writer is older than I am by a lot. Um, so I don't know. I've got I've got my interests are so like varied. I have a hard time concentrating on one thing. I
Mm.
also I also do, am we did write an Inspector comic book,
Oh.
and I say we, and it was mostly my writing partner Eric Loya who just wanted to give it a try, and it's a really good comic, and it's basically a Boyish the Extraordinary origin story, and he was the inspector's main nemesis. So it was a really cool comic, and I'd love to do an inspector comic. That was part of the plan when we did the movie. We were going to do a tie-in comic, and actually Tony Lee, who wrote the Doctor Who comic, was going to write us a comic, and yeah, that was going to
I
be
mean,
fun. But
I mean, you might be able to pitch that to someone. I mean, I know, like, I think it's still going on. There was a Miss Marvel series recently written by the young lady who plays her in the MCU. So,
oh, really? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they do that sometimes. They'll be like, oh yeah, they had a Riddler miniseries by what's it? What was the Paul Dano, who played Riddler in the Batman. He wrote a
Yeah.
Riddler miniseries and stuff. So
Interesting.
I think
Yeah, and I
there's
think the best actors
yeah.
think a lot about that. Like when I was on Pretty Little Liars, I had this whole idea of what my character arc was going to be, and
Oh, there
uh,
was like what was it? It was like a Batman anthology book like a year or two ago. Danny DeVito wrote like a Penguin story, and this is like 30 years after he played the Penguin. So I mean,
wow,
it's
was
ever
it his Penguin that he was writing?
there was aspects of it, but I think he kind of kept it like as like current comic book Penguin. But
Hmm.
I mean, but again, it's like I said, it's never too late. I mean, this is
Yeah,
like
no, no, you're right. You're
roll.
right. I do probably need a little more cachet. I don't have, nobody in this industry knows who I am. So,
Oh, I wouldn't. I mean, again, I think that's if I mean, just your talent alone could probably get you in. But I think that's an extra little bonus where it's like, oh yeah, I played the character.
yeah, yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Like, who would publish an Inspector Spacetime comic? Who publishes? Is there a Galaxy Quest comic? Because that's the company I would talk to.
There might have been. I don't know if there's one currently. I mean, some of this. I don't know if Image would. I mean, like IDW or Dark Horse, something. One of the other companies that's not Marvel or DC might.
Interesting. Well, I think all that would be easier if I could get the movie made, or
Uh,
the book is
oh,
coming out in the spring, and so
mm,
once the book comes out, maybe then it'll be easier to pitch other things that are based on that world, um, you know, like a movie or a comic or something like
oh
that.
yeah, and sometimes like I know they'll do like prequel comics to like movies or something. I mean, you could write something that it's like, oh, this is the prequel to the book or something, or
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's essentially what the comic we wrote is,
mm,
and I think it'd be really interesting to revisit that. Yeah, we even did some we did some test art, I think, for it. We had some of our fans did artwork for us over the years, and I think Ben Gluck, Gleuck, I think is his name. He's a really wonderful artist. He did a lot of artwork for me. We collaborated on a sketch that's on my YouTube channel called God, Abraham, and Foreskins, and so he did all the art for that, and he did, I think, a couple pages of the comic
mm.
for us. I was like, let's see what this looks like in comic form, and we never pursued that, but I think it's out there somewhere. I think I must have it on my computer somewhere.
Or even if you don't go to like a big company, I know like even like some of the big names who are working for Marvel and DC at this point. I mean, a lot of people are putting out their own comics through Kickstarter.
Mm.
You find like an artist, and you find your creative team, and then you just like do it through Kickstarter. People.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great idea, and I like that because so we did Kickstarters for the
Mm,
Inspector web series, and we did two successful ones and three successful ones and one not successful one. Um, and the thing of that is that when you're doing asking for donations for a web series, you're asking people to donate towards something that
yeah,
they would get for free, you
mm,
know? And
yeah,
so then you have to figure out all these perks. And the nice thing about doing a Kickstarter for like a comic or a book or something like that is basically you could just ask people to pre-order the thing that you want to make.
mhm,
And that way it helps they get the physical thing. You don't have to figure out,
yeah.
sales numbers or anything like that. So yeah, that's a good thought.
And the good thing about it, like a physical something like a comic, is you get one of the perks could be for a little more, I'll sign it for you or something, or
Yeah, yeah, or and I'm not sure what the ins and outs of comic publishing are, but I'm sure there's a way we could find out how to do special editions, something, something, something.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've talked to certain people. Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, I mean, if you want to go with fancy covers, that's going to cost you more, and just stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah. What's the average cost of a comic these days? It's got to be like $6, right?
I mean, we're getting there. I mean, some of them are like 3.99. Some of them are more than that. It's so no, I don't know how he does it. Todd McFarlane, he has like a bunch of like different Spawn titles right now. I think they're still only 2.99.
Mm,
But I mean, Todd
yeah,
McFarlane's keeping his prices low. I don't know if he has a deal with like printers or something, or
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
that's
I'd say
good.
I'd say the average, especially Marvel D, is like $3.99, sometimes a little more. So
All right. Yeah, I went into a comic shop years ago. I think it was must have been 10 years ago, and was I just wanted to see what Spider-Man was up to. And I looked on the shelf and it was something like 3.99 or 4.99. And I
mm,
was just this was a while ago, and I was just like, that's too much for one comic.
yeah,
And just looking at these like Spider-Man 2099s, they're a buck 25, you
yes,
know,
yes,
and that's like that's cool. That's a cool price for comic. And then like if you order them from Westfield Comics or what was the one? There was this comic shop in Mile High Comics in Colorado.
yeah,
I used to order a bunch of stuff from there, and then you usually get a discount, so it's like a buck a comic or something like that. And you're like, yeah,
exactly.
that's that's about right.
I mean, if you want, if for the prices and stuff, I mean, if you wanted to read regularly, and like there is that Marvel app we were talking about in DC. You know, pay per month or per year.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's not a bad idea. My reading habits have been taken a hit lately because of because I have a phone that has Netflix on it. Once you can watch Netflix in bed on a 5-inch phone, then you don't read in bed anymore, which is what I used to do. I did actually finally invest in a Kindle. It's right here,
oh,
and this has actually been the best thing for my reading
oh,
since I got my first iPhone, because it makes reading convenient and there's nothing else you can do on the device. So
oh,
it's good. It's easy on your eyes because it's the e-ink display. It's not like you can easily, pause and like, let's see what Facebook is doing and flip over to Facebook.
yeah.
And so it's easy to read. So I love it.
I don't have a Kindle, but I think I think that you can get comics on the Kindle too. I think.
Oh, maybe. It's black and white, so I feel like that would be
Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I was going to say maybe
mine
certain
is.
models, but yeah,
Yeah,
but
they're
yeah.
coming out with color e-ink displays
Oh,
more and more now, which is an intriguing thing. But
but
yeah,
yeah, I
we'll
know.
see.
I know those apps. You can do it on the phone. You can do it on a lot of the tablets and stuff. So
Yeah, I have an iPad, and so I use that
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot.
That's how I
But
read it
it's
digital. Yeah.
Yep, it's long in the tooth. I need to think about replacing this thing sooner rather than later.
So what else were you into in the '90s? Were you an X-Men guy?
No, no, I never was, and
Oh,
you know why? It's because there were like 12 titles.
yeah.
And they were all kind of connected, and it was far too daunting to be like, I
Hmm.
have no idea what's going on in this universe. I hated it. And so I think that might be the one of the big reasons why the 2099 series was appealing to me too,
Yeah.
is because it was starting fresh and you could get in. And the Ultimate series did that too, where when the Ultimate series is ran, I read those X-Men comics and loved them, and the Fantastic Four, which I'd never read before, and what else? I don't remember. Maybe some others. Um, I got into Peter David's Aquaman series. I thought that was really cool because it was such a huge reinvention of that character. And again, it was just a rethinking this kind of laughing stock, butt of the joke character, and making him just insanely cool with the beard and the hair and the harpoon hand and like all that stuff. So that was cool. I never got into his um in his Incredible Hulk
Oh,
phase,
that's so good.
although
I'd say if you read something else by Peter David Reed, his Hulk, it is good. I mean, he was on there for like 10 years, so there's a
I
lot.
know that's what I heard. That's what I was reading
Yeah.
about that. So I didn't get into that, but I think I lost interest in Superman after. Oh, you know what killed Superman for me?
What?
I was so into Superman. Like he was always my number one hero ever since I was a baby. Like
Oh,
even bigger than Spider-Man. What killed Superman completely was Electric Superman.
oh, really?
Yep. Right around what the turn of the century is they
Like
were like, we're gonna
97, I think. Yeah, yeah.
I was so pissed at that. I painted like a picture in pro like of it in but it was a protest picture. I don't know why. And oh man, I thought that was such an awful idea. And they swore up and down that this was the permanent Superman.
Yeah, right.
And no, and when they brought him back, I was like, nope, you lost me. Sorry.
Oh,
And I
Yeah.
think that actually killed me for comics altogether, actually. Now that I
Really?
think about it,
Wow.
that's about when I stopped collecting completely. I quit cold turkey because I felt so offended and betrayed by comics
There are
because of
there are certain points though where, or, whenever you read, it seems like you get to a certain age and you see the gimmick and you're just like, yeah, they're just doing this to, try to get numbers and stuff. Eventually you see enough gimmicks, you're like, yeah, this is just another gimmick.
yeah, because when Superman died, it felt like a big deal, right?
Mhm.
And even the story to bring him back felt earned. It was
Yeah.
an investment in time. We had to work for it toward, as readers. We had the whole what was the Parasite crossover?
Oh,
Uh,
Bloodlines.
Bloodlines. I
Yeah.
thought that was great. I loved Bloodlines, and they invented a whole bunch of new heroes in that in that series, and um, and then he was back, and so it felt like a big deal. But then they broke Batman's back, and then they killed. I don't know. They didn't. Did they kill Green Lantern? Oh, Parallax happened,
Yeah, they kind of just making
right?
movies for a
They
while.
made Hal Jordan evil. That
Yeah.
was the big deal. That was a good one because it's like, okay, don't just kill him, make him the bad guy. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, great, love that. So yeah, stuff like that I enjoyed, but you're right. At some point, you can only kill someone so many times before it feels like a gimmick.
It's like the catch 22. It's like, how many gimmicks can we do? But then also, then it's just like, or are we going to keep doing the same thing over and over, and not change it up? And I mean, I get that, but
Yeah, I do like a reinvention every once in a while, and I think that that's cool. I like a rebooting of a universe is fun, and should be okay. And you should make comics accessible to new generations of fans.
mhm.
And I think that a lot of kids probably, go into comics feeling the same way I did, and like looking at an X-Men comic with, uh, 15 years of canon and 12 comics, and you're like, nope, not for me.
Well, it's weird
So
anymore because if you're not like Spider-Man or Batman, it's like you might get like a year or two or maybe a little more. And then like they keep rebooting and they'll put out a new number one like every year or two. And every time a new creative team comes in, they might like give it a new number one. And it's just like, is that any better? Because it's just like, what number one? Well, which one? There's been like 20 of them.
right, yeah. And so then you have to be like Spider-Man Volume 7, number 1. And
Exactly.
yeah, I and so in that way I'm almost like, think of a different name, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
do something with it to make it earn the restarting. But or have a big, Crisis on Infinite Earths event to earn the uh the restart. So
Exactly. Yeah. And then, like you mentioned, the cover to the Spider-Man 2099 number one with the foil and everything. It's like now it's like they do like varying covers. Like they'll give you like sometimes it's only two, sometimes you'll get like 6, 7, 10 different covers for the same issue.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some people like to collect them, but sometimes it's just like, are they trying to trick people into buying the same copy
Of
more
course they
than once?
are. Of course they are. But also there's a degree to which it can be like making it different for different people. And
Oh,
so it's almost like putting on designing your own shirt. Like everybody wears a different kind of shirt.
yeah.
Everybody likes a different kind of comic book cover. I can see that being a less judgmental way to look at the alternate covers thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's nice. It gives people work too because you'll get like five different covers by five different artists. So five different artists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I do appreciate that sometimes and gives everybody a chance. I did read the whole brouhaha, and we're getting way off topic, but the brouhaha
that's
over the Spider Woman comic. Um, was this recent or was this a while ago where the guy made the sexy Spider Woman?
the pose. Yeah, that was a few years ago. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
well, I
yeah,
just read about it. So
yeah. No, it's just like her. Did you see the image of it?
I did. It's funny because I was reading a was it a XKCD or maybe a oatmeal? No, it's XKCD. It must have been. Interesting. I'm not sure which comic. It was some web comic, and I
Hmm.
was reading about, and they were like, what would it be if they drew all the male characters like they drew Spider Woman? And so he was just really pissed about it, and I was like, surely, and he had a picture of it, and I was like, surely this is an exaggeration. And so I had to search for it, and it's not easy to find, by the way.
Yeah,
It's I
yeah.
mean, it's not hard, but it's not like easy. And and so I found it and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, no, he wasn't exaggerating even a little bit. That's really what it looked like. So um I don't know. I love comics. I think that the sexualization of characters. Like I'm looking at Miguel O'Hara here, and he's got like giant muscular legs and
Yeah.
muscly sinewy arms and a fairly nice package.
Meanwhile,
So
he's supposed to be a scientist. Yeah.
well, yes, but you can be a sexy scientist in the
I
future.
guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, it's
but
2099. That plastic surgery, I'm sure, is
yeah, Ozempic version 3.0 is going to be around, and we're all going to be sexy and smart.
but yeah, I mean, I see stuff like that, but I'm just like, I mean, remember the '90s? Like, yeah, they sexualized all the just the male and female proportions were just out of control.
Yeah. So it's just kind of the way things are. I think that Spider-Man probably informed my sexuality a little bit,
Oh,
which
really?
is interesting. Yeah, I kind of like I like that slim body type. I'm not big into the giant muscly guys. I kind of like this the slim fit guys
Mhm.
when I'm looking at and Instagram knows I love Spider-Man for sure.
Oh, really? You know, all of the
Oh
Spider-Man.
my God. You look at I search for something on Instagram and it's a page of Spider-Man dressing up. So
Oh, did you read the Clone Saga back in the '90s as Spider-Man?
I was aware of its existence.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say that. I did. I don't think that I actually read it. I heard they bought Ben Riley back though. I thought Peter
Yeah,
David bought Ben Riley back.
yeah, he was writing a Ben Riley series for a while. Now they kind of made him a villain and stuff, and it's so weird.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
they in the new movie, they were really not kind to him.
No, I know, and I love Ben Riley. I'm like, don't do this to him. Yeah, I know, just made him all emo and just why? But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I
What?
mean that was another thing we were talking about the gimmicks. I mean that Clone Saga was out of control because I think it was supposed to go like three to 6 months, and then like it sold so well, marketing was just like, no, keep it going, and then like 2 years later they ended it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Mhm.
See, I did always wonder kind of what the point was, and I wasn't reading regular Spider-Man because of the same over like saturation problem. Like there were four
Yeah.
or five different Spider-Man books, and I was like, that's why the 2099 series was so good for me because it was simple. It was only a few titles at first, and then it ballooned a bit, but yeah, those early titles were great.
Yeah, they kind of
Yeah.
did that with Spider-Man. They did that with Superman too at the same time, where they both had like 4 monthly books, but it would jump from the story would jump from one book to the next book. So it's like every
Yeah, so you get a weekly
basically,
a
yeah,
weekly
you're basically
story.
weekly. Yeah,
Yeah, I liked that on Superman. I thought that was great. And I just didn't have it in me to do another series.
yeah. I like
So,
on Superman that they actually gave you the numbers on the front of it, those triangle numbers that told you exactly what order to read them in. I like that.
yep. Yeah, that was very smart. Did they do that with Spider-Man?
No, I mean, if you read the issue that at the end on the last page, it might say, "Oh, continued into whatever." But yeah, no, nothing on the cover to tell you.
Missed opportunity.
I know.
Yeah. I do have I did find in my little collection here a Spider-Man annual. Do you remember annuals?
Yes.
I was surprised to come across that. Where is it? Spider-Man 29. Well, it's not issue number 12, which you'd feel like it would be. Or
Oh no,
maybe
no, no. Annuals were their own separate thing. Yeah, they would just number it every year, like the first
right, right,
30
right.
months. Yeah.
Annual number one. Yeah, maybe it's not in this pile. I was going through my piles and putting them in order. So I have a nice supply here
Oh,
of
nice.
right. It's almost every issue. I'm missing I think issue number 10 and yeah, I'm missing 10, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah, 18, 19. I've got a good 20. Yeah, I'm not where. So
Yeah, I
maybe I
was
can
gonna.
find a summary of issue number 10 in this and then just continue reading.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I have them all except for like one. It's like random. Like it was issue 35 or so. There's like only one I'm missing. I think.
Yeah, so I'm missing issue 26, and that's it. And then I got everything through 28. So, and I'm only
Oh,
missing two episodes, two
nice.
issues. I'm such a TV watcher.
Oh, come on, you're a TV actor. Come on.
Yeah. I just had an audition this week that I'm hoping I can book
Oh,
on one of the CSIs. I've never
ooh.
auditioned for a procedural before, so I was really happy.
Are you gonna be a bad guy? Or are you gonna be a cop? Or what are you?
Yeah, a real bad guy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think my audition was really great, but I don't know if we'll see. I'll probably hear next week if I get it.
Because I always thought, I used to think, oh, it's probably great to play the good guy and stuff, but it's fun as heck to play the bad guy, right? Get to chew the scenery and
Yeah. Well, I've never actually been a bad guy, unless you count Evil Inspector. Evil Inspector was really fun too, because because the inspector was so stoic, and so Evil Inspector got to be fun, and he reveled in death and like the prospect of killing. And so if you watch the web series that we did, I love the work I did as Evil Inspector. It's very subtle. So I'd like to play more bad guys, and to be honest, I think that if I can get some work as more creepy characters, that's fine, and kind of, the Bell's palsy lends itself to that. Like I am kind of strange looking, I guess, and
no.
so just I'm not normal like guy next door, and so I think creepy. I think I lend myself to creepy fairly well, is what I'm saying. So.
And then in a few years we'll talk. You'll have made millions of dollars off of that.
Like I'll take it. I'll take it. And if that's the work that comes to me, I will definitely do it. Yeah. And you're right. Villains are so much fun to play. Do you know who I was recently rewatching? And again, we're off topic, but uh, I can't remember his name, but he's huge now, and he played Moriarty on Sherlock. Do you remember?
Okay.
What is his name? Mark something? Not
Oh,
Mark Gaddis. That's someone else. That's the other guy. He played Sherlock's brother. Um, God, now it's gonna hurt me. Wait, I'm just gonna look it up super quick. We can edit this, right? I
yeah.
know we're
Oh,
live.
yeah. I mean, hey,
Okay, vamp for me.
yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, hopefully, it'd be cool one day if I was able to get the skills up enough to play a dead body on one of those procedurals.
That's so funny. I have my old roommate begged me to play a dead body sometime. He just that's all he wants in the world is to play a dead body, and I think that'd be funny.
Although,
Andrew Scott. Andrew Scott is his name.
okay.
And he's working a ton right now. He was in Fleabag. He's Inspector. He was in what did he just do recently? Um, All of Us Strangers is a series that's huge right now, and all he was in 1917. He had a nice little thing in there. So yeah.
Was a lot of that right place, right time, just your name, or to have someone say, "Oh, who'd be good for this part?" Travis Richey.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things where someone has to see you, and then first a casting director might become aware of you and be like, "Oh yeah, I really like his work. He's solid." So the first thing you need to do is become known as a solid, dependable actor, right? And uh, then you can start getting more like guest star and like larger roles like that, and eventually people will see you as capable of doing something a little meatier and a little more varied. And that's where they start calling you in for series regulars and giving you those opportunities. Yeah. Or, you write and produce a film, and it becomes a indie darling and gets some notoriety in festivals, and then you get into some movies. So
Hmm.
it's weird. There's not the crossover used to be much more disparate from movies and television, and there's more crossover now, but it still is a lot of crossover with known talent.
Hmm.
I don't see a lot of people doing a lot of unknowns doing movies and television.
Hmm.
And I haven't. I
Well,
don't know the last time I auditioned for a movie. I don't think I ever have.
well, the thing with movies, I mean, I was thinking about to this just a few minutes ago. It's like, especially with like superhero, like a superhero thing or something. It's like when they're playing in a franchise, do they try to get like these young actors in there so they're like, oh, someone we can hold on to 10 years or more, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I think as you're, I think there's a tendency for that, but I feel like that is not necessary because you look at the actors who built the MCU, and you're
Oh yeah,
talking a lot of seasoned actors, you know. So you don't necessarily need that, but it would be nice if the suits resisted that urge because
yeah.
they think everything needs to be young and hip when it really just needs to be good. And you know,
Oh yeah.
so but
And
it's
they,
not even that.
but again,
Go
if
ahead.
they go young too, sorry, if they go young too, sometimes they're not as known. So maybe it's the money thing too. Because I mean, Robert Downey Jr. by the end, he was making how much? Probably as much as a third world country.
Yeah, reportedly he made $500 million off of his Marvel time.
Oh yeah, there was it even by Iron Man 2? There was one of them. They said like he got like a piece of the action, so he got a
Hmm.
percentage or something. So
Oh yeah, yeah, and then from the rest of them on. So yeah, for sure. But you know, worth it
oh,
because
oh yeah,
those movies made billions of dollars each. So yeah, yeah, I don't know. I think as long as an actor is good and good for the role, then I would say use them. There is a character who I always wanted to play. There's two of them. I always wanted to play Gambit. Um,
oh
I
nice.
worked for a long time on my Cajun accent just so I
Oh
could try to play Gambit someday. And I mean, I feel like maybe I'm aging out of it a little bit, but maybe you know, that could still be a possibility. The other one I really wanted to do was Moon Knight, and that was
oh yes.
yeah, the same guy who gave me those Batman comics to read, uh, said that he thought I would be perfect for Moon Knight, and so I got into reading some Moon Knight and really looking into the mythology of it, and I loved the idea of a guy who is like a triple personality character, and
Hmm.
like that was really interesting to me, and I gotta say I loved what they did with the series. Moon Knight was one of the better Marvel series, I thought.
Oh yeah, and if you really get into the comics, I mean, it is an interesting character because he used to work as a mercenary, so he used to not be a nice person, and
Hmm.
I find that story kind of more interesting than it's like, oh, it's a, I mean, I love Superman too, but it's like Superman's a nice guy, he's always been a nice guy, but those characters where it's like it's a redemption arc where it's like, yeah, I've done so much bad in my life, here's my chance to turn it
Yeah,
all around, and
yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was Spawn in a nutshell, right?
oh
And
yeah,
so that was I thought that you know, and that's a good thing that Image Comics did is they came in and kind of shook things up, and you know, they really played the anti-hero a lot. So yeah, and you know, it's so interesting to look at the publishers, and you look at the DC comics, and they tend to be very like archetypal, you know. And then you have the Marvel comics, which are more complex and angsty characters.
mm-hmm.
And then with the rest of them, with you know, Image and Vertigo, and you get these characters that are like uh, bad sometimes, and but a lot more fun. So
Yeah, the DC. It seems like the characters are either one extreme or the other. Marvel, it just seems like it's like from the beginning, Stanley was just like, yeah, I want this to seem as real world as possible and stuff. And
yeah, which is good. And but you know, I like an archetype. There's something to be said about you know, the cowboy, or the idea that Batman and Superman both have that I think is fairly unique, is that idea that the secret identity that Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne are the masks that they
yeah,
wear. And I don't know if anybody else really does that, but I love that that's what those have become. And um, or you know, the Flash, kind of like Spider-Man, has heroism thrust upon him,
mm,
and he's but he's still fun, you know, he's still a fun, you know, person and character like Spider-Man. um yeah. Oh, there was a series in the 90s where they crossed over the two, DC and Marvel, right, where they had like
yeah,
Batman
yeah.
and Wolverine.
Oh yeah, Dark Claw. Yeah. Because they did like a Marvel DC miniseries. Yeah, and then they put out like a bunch of one shots. Yeah, where they like combine two a Marvel and a DC character. Yeah.
That was a really cool thing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That's because people are always saying these days, like businesses and as good and stuff. Or that's a it's like do some more crossovers. Like I don't know if it's Disney who doesn't want to cross, but now you got all
Yeah.
these corporations involved. They don't want to like do crossovers and stuff.
Everyone's so precious with their stuff. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like nobody wants their side to lose. Be seen losing and stuff. And
Yeah, although I will say, remember how big of a deal it was when Disney and Sony kind of collaborated in order
yeah,
to get Spider-Man into the MCU? That's pretty cool, and so it's not
Mhm.
impossible, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, they were both in the Spider-Man business, But yeah, it's like
Right,
nobody
right.
wants to see like Batman beating Spider-Man or vice versa. At least
Yeah.
the companies don't want to see that.
Well, I'm sure that if this current trend of superhero fatigue continues, they'll
Mm,
be looking at ways to shake things up, and necessity is the mother of invention. So
mhm.
if they find that they are losing money on these properties, that let's see what happens when we put Superman with Spider-Man or whatever. I don't know.
And you want to shake things up. You know who's traveling back and forth? Inspector Spacetime.
Ah, yeah, yeah. It's funny. I did think I've met some of the producers from Doctor Who, and I was like, it would be really interesting to see on Doctor Who like an actor character, and like maybe he plays a time traveler on television in the Doctor Who world. And
Hmm.
so he's kind of used to all these tropes. And so like the idea of bigger on the inside doesn't surprise him a bit. And he is just gung ho to be part of this adventure. And the lesson he has to learn is that it's not a TV show. Like real life is actually dangerous. And I think that'd be great fun and kind of break us away from that pretty young blonde companion that we
Mhm.
are stuck in,
I think
which
that would generate some headlines. Inspector Spacetime on Doctor Who.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I would, and Chudi's such a good actor. I would love to see like uh, give him a queer companion.
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
we've done female doctors already. Let's give her a male companion. Something.
Yeah,
Let's shake
yeah.
it up.
I know.
Or
I agree completely.
or does it have to be a big British name? I was going to say, could you play Doctor Who?
I don't think I would want to play Doctor Who. I think that is
Too much pressure, too much.
it's a lot of pressure. I love the character, and I think I would be miscast, to be honest.
Mm,
Yeah.
kind of. Have you kind of sort of already done it? I mean,
Well, the inspector is very different. The
eh,
inspector is an anti-hero of a sort,
mm,
where he I love the universe that we created for him. And I want to play more in that universe, but I think he's I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have an answer to that. I just feel like I want to see more out of the doctor than just another white guy.
mm.
But maybe there is some queer energy that I could bring to it. That I mean, Chudi's already got that, so I don't know if they need any more of that. But where did they go after him? That's a good question.
Or again, Inspector Spacetime. Again, Marvel and DC are doing this all the time. It's like DC came up with Deathstroke. Like 10 years later, Deadpool comes out, and look how big Deadpool is now.
Yeah, yeah. So someone could make good use of the inspector, and it's not like there can't be another time travel show, a time traveler TV series. There absolutely can be. There's a billion doctor shows, a billion lawyer shows. Uh, so yeah, you could do it. Uh,
How do good? You merchandise the hell out of that. You could do a TV show, a movie, an animated series. Again, we said comics.
that's what I'm trying to do. That's what we were going to do if we could make that first movie. It was going to make us money. We had a financial not statement analysis done on the script that showed that we were probably going to make about $4 million on our $500,000 budget.
Oh, nice.
So, and that would have allowed us to then make the sequel with a bigger budget, which would probably have made more money theoretically if it was good. And then it was a 3 movie idea trilogy, and so it was going to get bigger and bigger each time.
I
So
mean, I know it'd be good. Always hear the passion in your voice when you talk about it. So I mean,
yeah, it's a good story. I have a lot of ideas, and I would love to. And the other thing I loved about Inspector was that it was a very collaborative character. So lots of people, and I think the same is true for Doctor Who, right? Lots of people contribute to it, and I've always been a collaborative creator. During my sketch comedy years, and just on working on YouTube, I love working with other people and getting other people's ideas, and because I'm never the best idea in the room. I never believe that I am, right, and I'm not a prodigy when it comes to writing, like or like a Aaron Sorkin or a Joss Whedon or whoever. So I really value other people's ideas, and if there's a better idea than mine, I'll take it, or I'll use it. um,
well, most TVs and movies. I mean, you know much better than me. I mean, nor for most of it. I mean, it's not usually one person just writing, right? They usually have writers' rooms and stuff, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And so there's generally a team of people pitching ideas, and what's funny is usually one person gets credit for what a team pulls together. And but yeah, I that's what I would love to do. I would love to have a team of writers on a show, and it could be any show. It could be The Inspector. It could be any of the other series that I have in my pocket. But
Mm.
we're that would be a great thing. I think I enjoy that very much. Yeah.
And to bring it back all the way around, hey, Disney, let's do a Spider-Man 2099 animated series. Have Travis do the voice. I
Oh
mean,
my God! Oh,
awesome.
you know what? Could I do it? Yeah, I'm half Irish. I'm not. I don't have the half Hispanic thing, but I could do it.
I mean, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure you could do it. Come on.
Yes, yes. Or give me a villain or something. Make me the bad guy. I'm fine with that too.
If you were a bad guy, who would you be?
In this series,
Yeah, yeah.
well, the what's that cyborg name? The right at the
Oh, is that
beginning.
Venture in the first in like the first couple? Is it
Yeah,
Venture?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He'd be pretty good. Or the head of Alchemex. That's always a
Oh,
good.
Tyler Stone or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So someone powerful, someone behind the scenes, pulling the strings. That's always a
That,
good
that
character.
future stuff's popular. I mean, Batman Beyond was popular for a couple.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a surprising that Batman Beyond hasn't been adapted anymore. That was a great series, and so not original because it was a sequel, right? But I thought it was such a departure from what they had been doing, and it felt like a risk, right?
Well, I think that the thing is that I don't know if there's the studio or somebody wanted like a young Batman show, so they were just like the people behind it were just like, I don't know if we can pull off young Batman, but let's set it in the future so the next guy who takes over is a young Batman.
Yeah, yeah, and it ended up being good.
Yeah,
And
oh,
that's just because you get good writers involved, and they're not willing to like compromise just for expediency's sake.
yeah.
And then you get something actually good, and it was a really good series.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get more of that.
And of course, you keep Kevin Conroy in there. Yeah, that doesn't hurt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was great. He was so good.
That was
I'm
our
so sad to
Batman.
hear he died.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. Hopefully, we'll get a 2099 series, and we'll do some more with this. They are. I'm very intrigued to read the new stuff that's coming out, and so we'll talk about that.
Yes, yes, I believe. Yeah, like I said, I think each issue comes out every week this month. So maybe in February, if you're all right with that, we'll reconvene and talk the new stuff.
All right, sounds good.
I would be very interested in your thoughts on that. Yeah, again,
I'm
since the
fascinated to see
90s.
what I think too. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, kids. And again, you can always email us CapesandLunatics@gmail.com or the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38 Capes. And once again, Travis, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
And is there anything else you want to promote before we get out of here?
No, well, my book's been selling okay. If any of you have not read it and like vampires, or especially gay vampires, then the Vampire's Curse Decimus Book One by me is out right now in hard and soft cover. And there was a glitch about the Kindle version, but that I'm told by my publisher that should be coming back out soon. So hopefully it'll be available.
And if you want to hear all about that book, yeah, episode 314, we talked about that. So yeah, go scroll down, kids, learn all about the book.
The
go
pie
buy
episode. I love it.
All right. Once again, the great Travis Richey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Take care.
The other famous Travis right now. You hear that Travis Kelsey.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You know what? It's funny. I don't watch football and I don't listen to Taylor Swift. Although on my podcast, which is called Exposing Ourselves, we just listened to the Taylor Swift album that she put out during the pandemic. And I was very impressed. But yes, that joke went right over my head.
Okay. I mean, I'm not huge with football myself, but they're everywhere these days. It's just,
yeah,
I mentioned that you promoted the podcast too. Very good.
Thanks. Yeah, I forgot. That was bad of me. I'm very bad at promoting myself.
We got it. All right. So yes,
all right.
buy the book, listen to the podcast. Yes. Thank you, Travis.
All right. Thanks very much. Have a good night.